Introduction. Fiverr has taken the internet by storm. There's really no other way to say it. This little freelancing platform that could has totally transformed people's expectations of getting and providing freelance services through an online exchange format. It seems that Fiverr has solved the two most common problems freelance platforms have historically struggled with. Fiverr not only offers a ton of services from a wide range of eager providers from all over the world, but it is also able to pull in lots of buyers. When you put these two factors together, it is no surprise that Fiverr has become the go-to freelance service destination on the internet. Also, given its low-cost profile compared to other free-form or custom-order freelance resources, Fiverr stands to continue to attract a lot of buyer attention. Let's get one thing clear. You can have a platform filled to the brim with sellers. Unfortunately, your platform is probably not going to succeed unless you also get a lot of buyers. Buyers make the platform successful. Fiverr has managed to do this. Fiverr's secret. The secret to Fiverr's success is to enable people to post whatever services they may have, ranging from graphics design to writing to virtual assistant services to video spokesperson services and others, for a flat fee. Originally, this was set at $5. This explains the name Fiverr. But as customers' needs have changed and the market evolved, Fiverr now allows service providers to charge the price they're most comfortable with. Compared to traditional freelancing, Fiverr removes a lot of doubt and guesswork from the freelance process. When you go to places like Freelancer or Upwork, you basically see a listing of somebody who needs work done. As a potential freelance contractor, you send in your bid. It's anybody's guess whether your bid will get accepted or not. Fiverr flips that model on its head. Instead of customers posting their requirements as well as their budget range, service providers provide a description of the service that they would do as well as samples of their work. Most importantly, providers are required to put a fixed price on their service. Whether they are charging $5 or $500, it doesn't really matter. They have to provide a fixed price. This has taken much of the uncertainty and guesswork out of the process. It is no surprise that Fiverr continues to grow. The good news, you can make money off Fiverr too. In fact, Fiverr has many testimonials of people claiming that their income on this platform has replaced their regular job's income and then some. In fact, a lot of people happily announce that they've quit their day jobs and are doing voiceovers full-time. There's even one person who travels all over the world and is sustained 100% by his income from Fiverr. That's how lucrative this micro-freelancing platform can be. But there's a big warning sign. You have to be careful about using Fiverr the right way. While it's very easy to get excited about these success stories, and believe me, they resonate on so many levels. Who wouldn't want to own their time? Who wouldn't want to work on their own terms? Who wouldn't want to cherry-pick the projects that they get? The big problem is, if you don't know what you're doing or if you don't have a strategy, you end up wasting time and, yes, money in the form of opportunity costs. Think about it. If you are spending your time doing work for people for $10 when it turns out that you could have been working for $50, you are actually losing money. Now, this is different from a situation where you have spare time and you're simply trying to turn your spare time into spare cash. In that case, this would be okay. This is especially true if you're training yourself by taking on these jobs so you can level up in the future. But if you are looking to earn a full-time income, you have to learn how to use Fiverr the right way. This training teaches you 6 better ways to make money off Fiverr. Make no mistake, offering high-value and time-intensive services for $5 is not one of them. The biggest hassle with Fiverr. By this point, you're probably excited about Fiverr. In fact, you may be raring to go and put up an ad and see what you can make. Well, you might want to cool your heels for a little bit. How come? Well, here's the sad reality about Fiverr. Most money on Fiverr is made one way. What way is that? You sell your time for money. You may be thinking, what's so bad about this? Well, if that's what you wanted to do, you should have just gotten a job. Seriously. You should have just gone to monster.com or some other online jobs platform and hunted yourself down a job. The great thing about a regular job is that you are guaranteed a paycheck every 14 days. You don't have that assurance with freelancing. Also, most jobs in the United States have a medical and dental insurance plan as well as a 401k retirement plan. You don't have that with freelancing. Keep this in mind. Because if you're just going to be selling your time for money, maximize your return on effort by getting an actual regular job. Unless your hourly rate is $1,000 or more, it's just not going to cut it. There's no comparison if your focus is selling your time for money. What's the big problem with selling your time for money? There are several problems with this way of making money. First, you only have so much time to sell. Last time I checked, there are only 24 hours in a day. Well, if you're like most people, you at least need 6 of those hours to sleep and probably more. Also, there's only one of you. It would be great if you have an army of you out there so you can basically farm yourself out to work on all sorts of different freelance projects. You then get paid many times over. But unfortunately, there's only one of you with only 24 hours in a day. Traditional freelancing is also not very scalable. Once all your available time slots and production slots are taken up, you have to wait until you clear out some work for you to take on more clients. What do you think will happen if you told them to wait? Based on my experience, at least half of them will look elsewhere. And given how robust the Fiverr platform is, they don't have to look far, and they don't have to search long. It's too easy to get pigeonholed. Another problem with Fiverr freelancing is that it's too easy to feel that you're stuck offering one type of service in one particular type of context. It gets old quickly. It seems that all the amazing benefits of Fiverr are simply off limits to you. You quickly discover that it's basically hard work. Now, you may enjoy what you're doing, but if you get pigeonholed and you just offer one type of service, let's say you're a graphics artist and you design banners for people. Your skill set is not growing if that's all you're doing. If you're doing banners all day, every day, the improvements you can make as far as taking your skills to the next level is actually fairly restricted. On top of this, there's always a chance that someone will undercut your pricing. You have to understand that the vast majority of people on Fiverr either do not make any money at all or they make very little money. There are a lot of reasons why this is the case. Some people simply do a bad job and they get bad reviews. Other people charge too much money. You have to remember that the market has expectations based on the services you provide. If the going rate for banner design, for example, is $5, and I come along and put up my service for $25, chances are I won't get too many orders. I may get orders every once in a blue moon, but you can bet that they're not going to be repeat orders. For customers to come back, they must feel that they're getting a solid value. You can deliver on that value based on quality or price, but the problem is Fiverr tends to attract people who are drawn primarily by price. I know, it's rough. We can cry about it, we can definitely whine, but I doubt any of that is going to change the situation. That's just the way it is. The uncomfortable truth about making money off Fiverr. I don't mean to depress you. I definitely don't want to discourage you from using this amazing platform. It is amazing. It can make you money, but you have to use it the right way. If you use it the wrong way, it can easily become a race to the bottom. That's right. When you look at the pricing that you offer, make sure it's cut to the bone because you can bet that if there is any allowance for a decent profit, somebody will come in and offer a lower price. This is especially true when it comes to virtual assistants, data entry, and similar services. It is brutal. We're talking about people working for less and less money. It used to be that the low-cost service providers would come from Southeast Asia as well as South Asia, in places like Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, India, the Philippines, and Indonesia. Now, the action has shifted to Africa. If you think people from India were charging low rates, think again. That's why there really is cutthroat competition, and it's a race to the bottom in terms of pricing. It's not pretty. If you're going to be trading your time for money, you're going to have to accept the very real possibility that you're going to have to charge less and less money to stay competitive. Now, one way to compensate for this sad reality is to play up volume. You can cut your pricing to the bone so as to drive up volume. This sounds great, but the problem is there's only one of you. If you're like most people, you probably would want to spend some time with your family. You probably would want to read and spend some time on yourself and become a better person that way. Unfortunately, you can kiss goodbye to all that time because volume requires burning up tons of time. The bottom line, now that you have a big picture view of what Fiverr's promises are and what the perils of its reality are, I've got some great news for you. You don't have to play the Fiverr freelancing game to lose. There are 6 better ways to make money off Fiverr. Starting with the next video, you're going to learn everything there is to know about playing the Fiverr game the right way. I'm going to teach you how to play the Fiverr freelancing game to win. 6 better ways to make money off Fiverr. This video is an overview of the 6 different methods anybody can use to make real money off Fiverr. Let's get one thing clear. If you want to make chump change or beer money, Fiverr is the place to be. There are lots of graphics designers designing banners from time to time or ebook covers once a week who make enough money to buy beer on the weekends. However, if you have a family to support or if you want to make real money, you need to think big. You need to think outside of the traditional freelancing box. In other words, you have to decide on and commit to making money without trading in your time for money. At the very least, you're going to have to commit to and dedicate yourself to charging a lot more for your time. These are the 2 key elements that include all 6 of the methods I'm going to share with you in this training. Always keep your eyes fixed on the problem you're trying to solve, selling time for money. Method number 1, offer premium value-added services. Method number 2, bundle others' services and sell turnkey assets. Method number 3, bundle others' services and sell operational assets. Method number 4, buy services that help you buy resellable high-value assets. Method number 5, resell cheap Fiverr services at other higher-value locations. Method number 6, use Fiverr services to build your own assets. These 6 methods have varying requirements of time, focus, and capital. Regardless, if you use one, a few, or all of them, you can make quite a bit of money. A lot of this income can happen on autopilot. I know it sounds exciting. Well, let's jump in, starting with video 5. Offer premium value-added services. This way of making money off Fiverr actually involves you trading your time for money. Now, don't get upset. Don't finish this training just yet. Give me a chance to explain. The big difference is you pick higher premium services. This is the key. There are many services you can offer on Fiverr. Unfortunately, given the geographic distribution of service providers, you're going to get caught in a race to the bottom. That's right. There are people who are ready, willing, and eager to work 10 hours for $5. Are you willing to do that? If you're like most people who live in America or Western Europe, the answer should be a resounding no. After all, you value your time. If you just wanted to earn $5 for 10 hours of work, you probably would be doing something else. There are a million other things that you could be doing in your neck of the woods to earn far more money than $5. Let's not kid ourselves. However, that is always a possibility if you are careless regarding the service you offer. The first thing that you need to do is to pick higher premium services you can offer. If you type in a skill set or a service, and it turns out that the average fee charged by the provider of that service on Fiverr is $100 or $200, then you may be onto something. Additionally, you can bundle many different tasks that you do yourself and you charge a premium. Here are some examples. If you want to just offer premium services and get paid more for every hour of actual work you do, then you should switch from SEO writing or regular website copywriting to higher value writing markets like technical writing, handbook writing for products, sales copywriting, or medical writing. Similarly, certain types of academic writing, usually involving PhD dissertations, pay a lot more money. You can also bundle services along with your main service. You're still offering writing services, but you would include a lot of add-on value. For example, you're offering SEO writing. Their client gives you a keyword and you write a 1,000-word article. Well, that kind of service is currently getting $5 on Fiverr. But you may get away with charging $10 or $15 for that same service if you add pictures to the text that you produce, format it so that it's more readable, and upload it to your client's WordPress website. Generally speaking, when people see add-on services put together in a bundle, they are more likely to pay extra. Advantages. There is really one advantage worth talking about here. You get a higher dollar value per unit of time and work you put in. You end up working less and earning more than the normal way of making money on Fiverr. Disadvantages. To offer premium services, you must first know how to perform such work. This requires mastery, expertise, credibility, and authority. In other words, you have to pay your dues. This is not something that you achieve overnight. I can't call myself an SEO expert after reading an online book or a couple of blog posts on SEO, and then start offering that service on Fiverr. If I were to do that, people will see me for the fraud that I am, and I can only imagine what kind of reviews I'll get. It all boils down to results, and it takes quite a bit of time, effort, and focus to become an expert that delivers the kind of results the market demands. Are you willing to put in that time? Also, the higher value of the service, the more specialized it becomes. This increases the dollar value for that service. So far, so good, right? Well, here's the problem. This is basic economics. When the price of anything goes up, the demand usually goes down. That is the bottom line. People are always looking for cheaper alternatives. People are looking to break up expensive items into cheaper parts. There are all sorts of coping mechanisms to high prices. Your service is not immune to these. This might translate to limited demand. Now, this doesn't mean that this is the end of the world. If you were charging $200 per project, instead of getting a project every other day, you might get a project once a week. But if you were to add up all the orders that you get for that high-value service, you may actually still be making more money than if you were to offer a low-value service that is in higher demand. This is good news if you think about it. You work less, yet earn more money. What's not to love? Unfortunately, you have to be very careful regarding the niches of services you offer because some niches have such low demand that it's just not worth it regardless of how much money you charge. Another disadvantage to this Fiverr alternative is the need to build a brand or reputation. If you want to justify why you are charging $25 for something that other people charge $5 for, you'd better have a solid brand or reputation to back it up. As you can well imagine, it takes some time to develop such a reputation. You create a brand based on consistent quality. This takes time. Finally, there's always a chance that people will not buy from you if they see that you're offering a premium service on Fiverr. To these people, Fiverr is the kiss of death. These people have essentially written off Fiverr as far as quality goes. According to these individuals, when a service is listed on that platform, that service is no good. It's going to be almost impossible to persuade these people to buy from you regardless of the fact that you have a lot of testimonials and you are able to produce solid results. You're just going to have to live with this disadvantage. Unfortunately, depending on the niche of your service, the majority of people who might demand your service might think like this. Step-by-step directions. To offer value-added services, you need to take 3 steps. First, you need to figure out what your areas of expertise are. You have to write down all the things that you are good at. Please understand that these are things that you're actually good at. This means people compliment you or may have even paid you for this type of work. Of course, you did it as a favor, so the payment is basically a token. Regardless, there has to be some sort of objective indicator that people view you as an expert in a certain type of activity. This must be objective. This is not just your girlfriend telling you that you're a great writer. Of course, she says that even though she could barely read the stuff that you crank out because she doesn't want to hurt your feelings. That's not the kind of external validation I'm talking about. This has to be from people who would objectively say that you are a credible expert or an authority when it comes to this type of service. Look for those skills. Write them all down. Find high-value sub-niches or bundle small services you can do in your niche. Now that you have a list of things that you do reasonably well and that a lot of people praise you for, these services must already be listed on Fiverr. The next step is to look for sub-niches or specialized versions of those services. Research on Fiverr and see how much people are paying per service. You should have a clear understanding by this point of just how much your services are worth. Now, you have to make a decision. Are you going to go ahead with this low-value service, or am I going to enhance its perceived value by doing other things that I would do myself? Again, going back to the writing example, if the only thing you can do reasonably well is to write SEO keyword articles, that's going to be the service you offer. However, this doesn't mean that you're going to offer that service for $5 just like everybody else. You can make things better for yourself by including additional services. You can say that you'll add pictures, you will format, you will add citations, you will interlink the stuff that you are producing with previous items on previous articles on your client's website, and you are also going to upload this material. All of a sudden, the service that you could have only charged $5 for per 1,000 words, you might be able to charge $15 or $20 for. The great thing about this is if you factor in all the additional services, they really don't add much time to the service. Most of the time is eaten up by the writing itself. This way, you actually increase the value of your time by including these add-on services. Create a package and get testimonials so as to convince people to buy your package. Bundle others' services and sell turnkey assets. What are turnkey assets? Turnkey assets are non-operational online assets like shells of websites, blogs with a small amount of content. The idea behind these sites is that the buyers of these sites have absolutely no clue how to put up a website. They don't know how to do it, or they don't want to know how. This is where you come in. You put in the time, effort, and energy to find specialists on Fiverr to put up a website. You pay them, and then you turn around and sell the starter website or low-content blog that they built for you. What are you really selling? Well, you're selling time, convenience, and most importantly, niche selection. You have to pick out the niche. You have to buy the domain name, and you have to customize the asset based on the niche. Those are the services that you are selling. Again, people would pay for this bundled service because either they don't have the expertise or they don't have the time to achieve that expertise. Advantages. This is probably one of the better ways to make more money selling other people's services. You're not selling your own labor. You are selling other people's labor. You also bundle different services together, so you leverage whatever is special in the services of others. This means that you get to play the owner of a sports team. Successful NBA professional basketball teams win championship after championship because the management knows how to cherry-pick the right talent. You can do the same on Fiverr. There are many highly talented and skilled people from many countries who do excellent work. You cherry pick these people, so they work together to produce a website for you. Since your finished product is so vastly superior from digital assets created by just one person, you can charge a larger premium. Another great advantage to selling turnkey assets is the fact that the likely buyers of this type of bundle service tend to be professional buyers. Don't be surprised if the person who buys your website from you turns around and sells it to another person after your buyer pumps up the traffic, creates more content, and actually starts making money from the website you sold that person. They then take the website to the next level, and then they flip it for many times the price you charge them. That's how the game is played. What do you think will happen if that person is able to sell your pre-built turnkey asset for a lot of money? That's right. He or she will come back to you again and again and again. The bottom line here is simple. You are not selling your time directly. Sure, it takes time to play project manager and coordinate all these different Fiverr freelancers, but you're not doing the actual work. Your main work is basically finding a buyer. Disadvantages. The big disadvantage to this Fiverr monetization model is that you have to come up with the cash up front. You're going to have to pay your specialist up front. You're going to have to pay the person finding the domain name. You have to shell out some cash for the WordPress theme designer, as well as the person customizing it. You probably would also have to get somebody to produce content, as well as graphics. This can add up. The good news is, Fiverr is so cheap. Don't be surprised if it takes you all of $50 or a maximum of $75 to come up with an asset that you can turn around and possibly sell for $200, or if you really do your homework and are good at closing, $400. Another drawback to this model is that you need to pick the right niche, or your asset might not sell. This is a big one. If you pick a niche that has a fairly low demand or has very high standards, you're probably not going to sell the asset that you have built. While it's true that you can mark up the amount of money you paid the service providers to produce the asset, you still have to sell many of these assets to make real money. The average American needs to make around $5,000 just to achieve average income. This means that if you are turning around and flipping assets using Fiverr labor and your average is $200 a website, you need to move 25 of these sites. Now, that might seem like a low number, but you're basically going to have to give yourself a quota of selling one website pretty much every single day. That's quite a tall order. Another weakness of this business model is its focus on customization. You have to customize the asset each and every time. You cannot resell the same asset over and over again. You're not selling private label rights, PLR material here. The reason why you are able to charge a premium is because this is custom work. This brings up another disadvantage. Since you are dealing with custom work, there's no assurance that the people you hire to get work done on Fiverr will produce the same quality the next time around. This can ruin your reputation. You might have a repeat customer who is expecting the same high quality as the site that you just sold him or her, and it turns out that your service provider simply got lazy or just barely put in any effort and they produced crap. Not only would you fail to make a sale with your repeat customer, but that person will probably not come back. Finally, one of the most common ways you can sell turnkey assets is to list it on Flippa. Depending on your niche, your listed asset may not sell the first time you list it. This means that you have to relist it again and again. Unfortunately, you have to pay for each listing on Flippa, and these listing costs can cut into your profits. It's not unusual for people to get so desperate about unloading an asset that they price it so low, and when you factor in their Flippa listing fees, they actually lose money. Step-by-step directions. Step 1. Find turnkey assets that sell quickly at decent pricing on Flippa. Essentially, you're going to reverse engineer what already works on Flippa. There's no need to reinvent the wheel. Go to flippa.com and look for websites for sale. These are websites that are not operational and are totally brand new. Look at the different niches that are selling. This is very important. Do not look at stuff that hasn't sold yet. Look at auctions that have successfully closed. Pay attention to the niche and the price. A pattern should emerge. Focus on niches that command really high prices. Now, don't get excited. Just because you found an auction where a totally brand new site sold for $2,000 doesn't mean that you should rush out there and start building a similar site. Pay close attention to similar websites on Flippa. Does this type of website sell quite a bit every month, or is this a once-in-a-blue moon kind of thing? Your job is to look for a niche that sells frequently on Flippa at a high enough price. Step 2. Find service providers on Fiverr that can be used to build your asset. Now that you have a clear idea of the turnkey sites that sell well on Flippa, break down the kinds of services needed to build such an asset. If you're selling websites, you obviously need a WordPress theme designer, a WordPress developer, which includes installation, content, graphics, And you also need a person to find the domain. Put all these together so you can have a list of services for which you would look for contractors. Next, you go to Fiverr and buy strategically. Step 3. Buy several gigs to build the asset. This seems pretty straightforward, but it's actually more complicated than that. Remember, you're building a custom asset. This means that you are building something of quality. This is not stuff that you're just blowing through. This is not just stuff that you're trying to zip through and build as quickly and as cheaply as possible. Believe me, if you do things that way, it's going to show, and people looking to buy your asset probably won't because they have seen better quality. Do not compromise quality. The good news with Fiverr is that there are so many service providers there that you can pay very little to get very high quality. Do that. Step 4. Sell your turnkey asset on Flippa. This is pretty straightforward. List the turnkey asset that you have built and sell it on Flippa. Ideally, you should have the website ready for transfer on your server. It should have its own dedicated domain name. Make it easy for you to transfer digital assets on your server. Coordinate with the technical support people at your host to ensure that the assets that you plan on selling are very easy to move. List your asset on Flippa. Now, don't get excited. I know you've done your research, and I know that the chances of this thing selling the first time you list it are quite high. However, be ready for the possibility that you may have to relist this item several times before you can move it. Factor the costs, as well as the value of the time you spend relisting it into the final price of the asset. Bundle others' services and sell operational assets. This way of making money off Fiverr is really not much different from the method I have described in video 6. The big difference, and in most cases the only difference, is that this website is operational. And what does that mean? It means that this website is generating traffic and is turning that traffic into dollars. In other words, it's actually generating an income. Advantages. The big advantage of this type of Fiverr service, flipping, is the money. That's right. With everything else being equal, people would rather pay more money for an online asset that already generates money. You may have designed a very good-looking online asset. Your turnkey website may look really good. The problem is, it's anybody's guess whether it can actually translate visitors into cash. You don't have any of that kind of uncertainty with an operational asset. You know that this thing works. You know that if you buy this asset, you will make money. Given enough time, this asset will produce enough money to cover the cash you spent to buy it in the first place. Given even more time, you make pure profit. That's how this type of asset works. It's no surprise that a lot of online investors in online properties would rather buy operational assets. You stand to get more money building this type of asset than a turnkey asset. After all, people are willing to pay a big premium for an asset that is already generating traffic and cash. This is a big deal because if you establish a track record of building and selling money-making websites, your reputation becomes golden. People will seek you out as the person they can buy assets from that guarantee income. Very few people can do that. If you're able to do that, then you are going to be able to charge a lot more money than turnkey site creators. If your properties consistently make money, you can even charge a bigger premium than other people who build similar types of websites. The big advantage here for buyers is the fact that you save your customers from the headaches of picking out a profitable niche, positioning an online entity, building a brand, building traffic, crafting the right content, and converting traffic into cash. Those are big problems. You will know this firsthand if you ever try building any kind of website or platform. It's not easy. The big value that you bring to the table is that you solve these problems for your clients. They get an actual working business. Disadvantages. The big disadvantage to this business model is that you have to spend cash up front. Again, just like the business model I've described in video 6, this is a cash upfront model because you're hiring people to build the asset. Unfortunately, your spending doesn't stop there. You probably have to buy traffic if you're not generating it organically. You're also going to be spending a lot of time to fine-tune and tweak the website so it performs optimally as far as making money is concerned. You're going to have to charge money for that time. Unfortunately, this is uncertain because it's anybody's guess when, if ever, this website actually starts converting traffic into cash. Another big disadvantage is that you are very vulnerable to niche selection. You have to pick the right niche. Otherwise, the ROI simply isn't going to be there. This means time because you're going to have to research the right niche. Market demands do fluctuate over time. A potentially fatal problem with this model is that you can't just assume that since this type of website asset has historically sold on Flippa, that you only need to show up at Flippa, list the asset, and then collect your money. It may not work out that way. It may turn out that for whatever reason, people are not buying this type of website on Flippa anymore. If that's the case, then you might have to sell on your own. By that point, all bets are off as to whether you can unload this asset or if you're going to have to discount it heavily just to move it. Finally, Even if you are able to find a buyer, you can still suffer headaches. How come? Well, you turn over the website to somebody and it turns out that their traffic drops like a rock. It turns out that they're no longer able to convert the traffic into cash. This happens quite a bit. If this happens, then your reputation goes down the toilet. And you may be thinking, well, that's just my online reputation. Think again. If word gets around that you are selling assets that stop working after a while, people are going to stop buying assets from you. That's the bottom line. Bad news. Step-by-step directions. Step 1. Pick successful niche sites with decent competition levels. Just go to Flippa. Figure out what sells. Make sure that you have decent competition. What do I mean by decent competition? I'm talking about competition that is not so crushing and so numerous that you really don't have a chance. There has to be enough of this type of site selling, but the potential sources or competitors on Flippa should not be so numerous that getting into this is just not worth your time. Step 2. Reverse engineer these niche sites using Fiverr gig service providers. This is pretty straightforward and self-explanatory. See video 6 on what is involved. Step 3. Use Fiverr to get content and traffic. This is what's different between this business model and the one that I described in video 6. In video 6, you just use all sorts of service providers to build the asset and content. That's it. You're not pumping it with content, nor are you getting traffic. In this business model, you're going to use Fiverr to get traffic. Here is a little bit of a caveat. There are a lot of scammers on Fiverr. There are a lot of people who would not hesitate to take your money in exchange for imaginary traffic. Do yourself a big favor. Look at the ratings of these people and be willing to pay a little bit extra for real traffic. If you play your cards right, you will be able to find service providers that would pump a real American or Western European traffic to your website, which can convert well and translate into a decent monthly income for the asset. Keep it up for a few months and then flip the site. Step 4. Fine-tune your website. If you really want to make money with your website, sell it when it's time. What do I mean by that? Fine-tune conversions and traffic generation and keep scaling up the income of your site until you can fetch a handsome price for your asset. Sure, you can turn around and sell the moment your website made $100 a month, but let me tell you, people would probably not pay more than $500 to possible $1,000 for your asset. There is a multiplier effect going on here. If your asset is making $100 a month and the multiplier for the bidders for your site ranges from 5 to 10, then expect anywhere from $500 to $1,000. You see how this works? Accordingly, fine-tune your conversions and traffic generation and keep scaling them up until your monthly income from the specific asset is high enough for you to get a very decent price. It all depends on what is comfortable for you. It also depends on how quickly you need the money. Chatbots. Chatbots are an increasingly popular tool for marketers, business owners, and webmasters. So what is a chatbot? Essentially, a chatbot is a minuscule AI that will normally live on a website and will which then be able to answer questions and engage in basic conversation. Very often, chatbots are used in customer service. This way, a website can answer commonly asked questions and significantly lighten the load on its customer service team. The company can provide the support it wants to for its buyers without spending a huge amount on extra members of staff and call centers. But a chatbot can be much more than just customer support. Chatbots are just as effective in marketing and can be extremely effective at increasing sales and profits. Chatbots are particularly effective at kickstarting a sales process by welcoming visitors to a website and asking them what they're looking for. Instead of relying on UX to try and guide the visitor to the right part of the page, a chatbot can instead simply ask what they are hoping to buy and then take them to that page. What's more is that it can provide useful recommendations, perhaps informed by previous buying history, and it can reduce any concerns that users might have. Chatbots can even get information from customers by asking them their budget or what it is they're looking for. Even if they don't buy, you now understand their intent, and you can use this information to hone your marketing strategy further. Some pundits argue that in the next few years, 85% of business might be done through chatbots. So how can you get started? 80% of businesses say they want chatbots in place by 2020. Facebook chatbots. One option is to invest in a Facebook chatbot. There are plenty of sites and services online that will sell these for you. Facebook Messenger is a new frontier for a lot of small businesses. While it has crept under the radar for many marketers, the numbers speak for themselves. Facebook Messenger is currently used by over 1.2 billion people. That's 11% of the entire human population. And what makes Messenger even more powerful is that it can be embedded into your website. Over 20 million pages use messaging, and that number is growing. This provides a very simple and easy way to communicate with your visitors, to answer their queries, and to help convert traffic into sales. But you can't be available 24/7 to cater to all your visitors' needs, and this is where a chatbot comes in. This is a basic AI that can tend to your customers and help to provide a more personal experience while answering basic questions. This is a hugely powerful tool for businesses, as it means you'll no longer lose visitors that struggle to find their way around the website or to get the information they need. Imagine if customers could order food by just sending a Facebook message and then answering a few automated questions. Or what if a business could access your expert legal advice without ever needing to speak to you in person? All of this is possible in the near future. Facebook chatbots can even be proactive by sending messages to potential customers. You need to be extremely careful with this, seeing as it can be seen as spam. But if you have an automated system that's able to reach out to potential buyers at just the right time with a carefully crafted message, this can be huge for business. Other types of chatbot. Of course, not all chatbots are Facebook chatbots. There are many other ways to implement chatbots into a website, from creating them from scratch using homemade software to using them to respond to emails or SMS. Developing your AI skills using SQL. If you want to ensure you aren't left behind by developments in AI and machine learning, then it may pay to learn relevant skills that you can use to implement your own strategies. At least by understanding the tools used in AI and machine learning, you will be able to navigate these new horizons and make smarter decisions for your business. One of the key concepts to understand then is SQL. SQL stands for Structured Query Language and is a declarative language that is used to store and retrieve information from a database. If that sounds like gobbledygook, it basically provides a set of commands you can use to manipulate large data sets. SQL is crucial for data science and machine learning. It takes a number of forms, such as MySQL, SQL Server, and SQLite. Each uses a slightly different dialect to achieve the same thing: interact with relational databases. Relational databases consist of numerous tables like you see in Excel, with columns and rows. So if you had a lot of visitors to your website, you might fill out their data across rows such as name, age, contact details, etc. Pull out any given visitor, and it will bring their details up so that you're ready to call them and market to them. SQL then allows you to do things like creating whole new tables or inserting new rows, columns, or cells. You can do this with simple commands like create table and insert into. To make a new database, you first need to use a command to make it, and from there, you can then begin inserting tables like so. One of the most powerful commands is something called select, which allows you to retrieve information across one or more tables. For instance, you can use this to get the details of anyone over a certain age, like so. Group by is a command that lets you group results according to certain conditions. Cursors let us move through sets of data and make changes. While this all might seem quite simple, combined with huge amounts of data, these simple commands can yield fascinating results and be extremely useful in informing future decisions. This is essential how machine learning works. And if you ever want to work as a data scientist to employ big data solutions or machine learning applications, this is what you will need to know. How to future-proof your marketing. Over the course of this training, we've examined a large number of different types of AI and machine learning in the context of digital marketing. The objective of all this has been to help you better prepare for the future. You know that you should start collecting as much data as possible right now, that you need to add schema markups to your site, that you should be using LSI, that you could benefit from a chatbot. You even know a little bit about SQL, just in case you ever decide to get involved behind the scenes. But in all likelihood, all of this is going to change a lot more before it enters the scene, and we can't really anticipate just how its impact will be felt. There are huge waves making their way through internet marketing, and the power of AI can't really be understated. Imagine, for instance, what will happen once AI that can write high-quality content becomes commonplace and commercially available. This technology already exists. AI that can write nearly as well as a human. But when it is allowed to cut loose on the web, it could potentially flood the internet with new enough content to double or triple its size in a matter of days. How will we know what's written by a human and what's not? What about when AI can create realistic-looking images? We've already seen the power of deep fakes. How will we know what's real and what's not? We can't really prepare for these scenarios because we don't know how they will play out. So for now, it is best to focus on what we do know. And in particular, as a marketer, that means focusing on Google's move to natural language processing and more human-like interactions. It also means that Google is going to keep getting smarter. Google used to look for keyword matches, but now it actually understands the meaning of a website and can use many more metrics in order to understand whether it is high or low quality and whether it is delivering on what it claims to do. In fact, Google likely has the potential to become the most powerful AI on the planet, owing to the huge amount of information it has access to and the huge resources that the company pour into it. This makes it increasingly difficult to game the system or to try and trick Google. The best thing we can do then? Make the best quality content we can. As Google becomes more and more human, writing for Google and writing for the reader will mean essentially the same thing. It's time we started focusing on great quality content and on providing real value. The key thing to remember is that Google serves its customers first and foremost. Who are its customers? The users who use it to find information and entertainment. Google wants people to keep using its search, and as such, it needs to make sure it consistently brings up only the most relevant and interesting information. As long as you are concerned with creating great quality content for your readers, then your goals and Google's will be aligned. Thus, each time it gets a little bit smarter, that will work to your favor instead of being something you need to worry about. As Google gets smarter, it will find more ways of identifying the best quality content. And so, if you're focused on delivering that, Google will find more ways of connecting you with your audience. Combine this with more data collection and a generally more data-driven approach to marketing, and you'll be ready for the future of the industry.